I've recently subscribed to the Sentence Builders website, and I wanted to make use of a new feature there that allows users to build more complex sentence builders themselves. But I noticed that there weren't any videos for it yet, so I thought I'll make a quick video on how to use the create feature. So I'm not going to talk about what activities you can do with sentence builders because there are quite good videos on this. This is more about creating your own resources. And I'm going to start with really simple ones and then show you the more complex ones. So first you go to resources, create new resource, and then it's still showing me my last one I've made here. So I need to go to new resource. Yes, I want to delete the other one. And I start with just these 3 boxes here where I can add my content. So at first it's quite easy. So let's do an easy sentence like all you need to do is to type in the foreign language word. So I'm going to do German and then an equal sign and the English word. Okay, so now we've got our 3 words, and if I go down here, it shows me what it will look like. So it will have the German word a bit bigger and then the English in brackets, which means that I will be able to turn them on and off in the sentence builder, depending if I want to give more help or not. A few things to keep in mind is that your first box, you probably want to start with a capital letter. And it's important to remember that both the German and the English, or whatever your languages are, need to have a capital letter, so it's easy to forget that both sides of the equal needed. And at the end of the sentence you probably want to put a full stop, which I didn't do. And again, both the first language and the second language need the full stop. This way, when the sentences get generated automatically, they look nice with a capital at the beginning and then a full stop. So we've got our first sentence here. This is a simple sentence which will just go from left to right with no different options. We'll come to the more complicated ones in a minute. So first I'm going to show you the buttons at the bottom here. So if I wanted to add a row, so let's say I also want to add he likes it, then I click add row and it gives me the option if I wanted to add it at the top or the bottom, which is very handy. And if I already got a really big table with 10 rows, I could add it at any point. Okay, so I'll add it at the bottom. Let's put he as well. Okay, so let's say I realize that my sentence builder has got too big or too complicated. I can just click the minus row here and then I can delete that whole row or the whole top row just by clicking that X. Okay, but I want to keep them for now. Let's say I want to add more information, for example, where I like playing. So I click plus column and I can choose where I want to put it. So in German it would need to go here. So I've got my extra information, but at the moment it's just in the top box, but I want it to apply to all my different phrases. So what I need to do is tick these 2 boxes and now I can use the merge function here. And as you can see, now it's turned it into one big box so that both he can play in the park and I can play in the park. And I would also need to do the same over here with tennis. So I merge them together so they both the pronouns can end in that hobby here. Let's say I realized I made a mistake. I can also split it back up again. So if I click there and split, now it is back into 2 boxes. If, for example, I realize that some of my hobbies are feminine or masculine and need different cells. Okay, and here you can see you can also split horizontally. So if I click on this box, then split, now it's turned into 2 horizontal boxes, but I don't need it, so I just click undo. Okay, so the question is, should I have a different cell for each word or do I put them all into one cell? So that depends on how complex your sentence builder is and on some other factors. So normally it's good to group as many words as possible in one cell if you can. So if I had lots of hobbies, for example, tennis, golf, football, and so on, and they all work with my verbs like play and like, then I should have them all in the same box. But if I have got some feminine hobbies and some masculine hobbies in French, for example, then it would make more sense to have them in separate boxes if their gender then influences other things in the sentence. So the more cells you have, the more of these boxes you have, the more complex it will be, and also it will make the website load more slowly. So try to have them together if you can. I can also change the colors here, so I can just highlight these in different colors. So for example, if I wanted to highlight positive and negative sentences, or all the past sentences and time phrases that go together and so on. And if I go down here, you can see that ich is pink now and er is blue. So I could use that throughout my sentence builder. So this is a really simple sentence builder because all the boxes kind of work with each other in that both Mark and Spielt both work with tennis over here, and they also work with the places. But obviously sometimes you have more complex sentences. So now I'm going to show you a little bit about design flow. So to understand the flow of the sentence builder, it's quite good looking at this little animation in here in the design tutorial, because it shows quite well that each sentence always starts on the left, goes to the right, and it can go into any adjacent box to the right, but it cannot cross horizontal lines. It can only cross vertical lines. And I'm going to show you a little bit more what that means now and how to use it for your sentence builder. So for example, here is a bigger sentence builder about hobbies, and so we've got these vertical lines here, and they are dotted because the flow can cross them. So for example, any of these sentences could be automatically generated. So whenever I start playing my game, it will choose one of these routes. I don't know which one, it can be any of these. And so it can go through those dotted lines. But then there are also the horizontal lines, which the sentence flow cannot cross. So for example, I could never get a sentence that says, he play, which is good because I don't want that. That wouldn't be a grammatical sentence in either English or in German. So that's why the do is right next to the right verb ending. Here's a sentence builder that is a little bit more complex again. So all my sentences start with ich, and then there's a choice of different hobbies that can be randomly chosen, and the flow can cross those vertical lines. The problem now is that I've got this horizontal line here as well. That means that every time I have a sentence that starts with play, for example, it will always automatically be paired with like or really like, and I can never have a sentence that says I don't like playing, which isn't ideal because I want a mix of positive and negative sentences with all my different hobbies here. So for example, if I wanted to have a sentence like I really like listening, that would not be able to be generated now. The solution to the problem is this empty horizontal column here, which I've added to my sentence builder. Because now the flow goes like this. So it starts from ich, it goes along one of the random hobbies, and then comes to this empty column. And within that column, it can now go anywhere. So it can go up and down in that box because this box spans the whole sentence builder, which then means I could now have as my next sentence a positive or a negative opinion, no matter which one I started with. So for example, I could have the sentence, I do really like, and then yoga. So it can now cross up to the top. And so this is also why I need the second empty box here. Namely, this way it can cross back down from like down to yoga, which is what I want. So now I've got another problem. Namely, I might have listen and I don't like listening. And then, because it can move along the whole of this column, it could end up in tennis, for example, or in rugby, and I get a sentence like, I don't like listening to rugby, which isn't really a sentence that I want to generate. So the solution to that problem is to use cell combos, which I'll show you in a minute how you make them. So cell combos mean I'm linking this box here, the listen box, with this box to the right, which has all the different things that I can listen to. So that means whenever listen is used, it will then choose something from either music, Spotify, or pop. So it makes sense again. So now it will only go this way. So it goes from höre, then it could go to like or don't like, and then back definitely into this box. Okay, here's the second problem. So I might have a sentence like, I don't like listening to music. And then I end up in this column here, and it will choose randomly out of all these opinions. So I could say something like, I don't like listening to music. It is interesting. But that sentence doesn't make much sense because we need a negative opinion really. So the solution to that one is to use cell exclusions, which means I'm linking this red box and I'm saying never use it at the same time as this green box with the positive opinions. And the same, if it says I don't like it, it can also not link it with this green box which says it is fun. So sometimes you could also use cell combos again, but in this case, because there are two different boxes with negative opinions, namely this one at the top and this one at the bottom, I don't really want to link the box to the left to a certain one on the right, because it should still be randomly choosing out of the two. So it's better to exclude all the other options basically. Okay, so now because of my exclusions, if I say I don't like listening to music, it will automatically go to this red one and then say something like I find it boring. Okay, so now I'm back on the Sentence Builder website and I've opened up this sentence builder with the hobbies that I want to work on, so I can show how the exclusions work. So first of all, I want to add some opinions to this now. So I go down here and say add a column, and I add it at the end. And now, because I've already got this many rows, it automatically splits it up into lots of rows. But actually, I only want two boxes. I want one with positive opinions and one with negative. So let's say I go one with I like it. And then down here, I put one with negative opinions. But at the moment I've got too many boxes, so I need to highlight all the boxes here. So the one that has something in it and a few of the empty ones, and I go to merge to make it into one big box, and the same with the bottom one. Okay, so but at the moment it could randomly combine I never play with a positive opinion, which is what we want to avoid. So we need to scroll down and use these sentence builder routes. These sentence builder routes down here, they show me which rows are currently allowed. So if I click on it, it will show it to me in the table. So 1.1 is the Ich, 1.2 means first row, second column. Yeah, that's why it's 1.2 and so on. So these ones are allowed. Ones that aren't allowed currently are these ones. So I can then add new combinations. First of all, I want to add a required combination. So I click on add new. And now I want to say then whenever I say I like playing something, then it will be combined with a positive opinion. So if I click on this box and this box, it has now added it. It's a bit confusing at first because it doesn't really give you feedback. So, but down here I can see that this is always combined. So meaning that whenever I use spiele, it will be with a positive opinion. So I want to add a new one that whenever it says I never play it, it will be linked with a negative opinion. And I'll do the same for all the different verb endings. And then I can click on it and just check that I've done it right. I could also do it the other way around and add exclusions instead of combinations. So I can add new, and then I say whenever I say a negative word here, so I never play it, then it can't go to this positive box here. And then I say okay to add it. So it's a bit strange that on the exclusion side you have to say okay, on the other one it adds it automatically. And both in this case kind of do the same thing, but it depends on the layout. So sometimes it will require less combinations as an exclusion, and sometimes it will require less as a required combination. So at the moment these are cell combos, meaning that if I combine, for example, Spiele with this box, it means it will randomly choose something from this whole box. But if there's one word in there I don't want to use with Spiele, because, for example, I don't know, I need the word I go swimming instead of I play swimming, then I could also add word level combinations, but they take a bit longer to load and they will make the games a little bit slower. So whenever you can, try to add the whole cell to it and not individual words. So it's better to have the words that are kind of the odd one out in a separate cell than having too many word level exclusions or combinations. So now I need to save my changes there. So let's have a look at the word combinations. So if I go in here, I can exclude certain words, but in this case I can't just click on it, I need to actually write them down. I can just write out the two words that I never want to have combined. So for example, if I never want the word nie, which is never, together with great, then I can write these in here, and I could either use German side or English side. So now I save it, and now I should never have a sentence that says I never play this because it's great. So this is another way of making sure that I don't get sentences that don't make sense. Okay, now I want to show something about transformations. So transformations allow you to change the wording to help with the problem when one-to-one translation don't really work. So especially in German, where the word order is very different from English, this can be quite a big difference. So for example here, if I just do one-to-one translation, the word gern means like, but I end up with sentences like this one down here. I don't like dancing, I find it tiring. And to an English person that doesn't really make sense. Or here, I ride like skateboard. No, it should really say, I like riding my skateboard. I don't like going to the cinema, and so on. So I can't have one-to-one translation. So if I go back here to my editing mode and I go down here where it says transformations. So I want to go in there, and now I can say when there's a certain combination I want it replaced with something else. So for example, whenever it says play like, which could come up here if it chooses the first word play and then chooses like, I wanted to change it, and I need to have two of these pointy brackets, and I want then to say like playing instead. So it gets sentences like I like playing football, I like playing tennis, and so on. So I would need to do that with all the different combinations. So in this case, it took me quite a long time to replace them all. So when I go back into my sentence builder now and try it out, I now get sentences like I really don't like playing video games, but the German will still be in the correct order, as in I play not like video games. So the students need to do that transformation in the head, which is exactly the exercise I want to do, really, because they need to learn that German and English doesn't translate one-to-one. Another useful feature is the Gapfill exclusion. So if you've got little words that you don't want to come up in a Gapfill because they would be too easy, then you can put them in here. So for example, in the sentence builder, if they had a Gapfill activity where the only word that's missing is ich, it would be super easy because ich is literally the only option in the first box. So I want to take ich out. And also when it goes from German into English, I also want to take out I. So in this case, I take out the English and the German. So if we look at some more options, for example, you can here also customize the vocal chunks. So for activities where they have to not choose the next word, but have to choose the next chunk. At the moment, all the chunks, a chunk is what is in one box. So sehr gern, for example, would count as one chunk because it's in the same cell, and nicht gern and so on. But if I want to combine certain words together as a chunk or exclude them, so for example, I don't want nicht gern to be one chunk, but instead to be split up into two chunks, I can modify that a bit more down here. And at the moment, it shows me all my different chunks there as well. Then I can make some changes to the text to speech. So it's really important that you put in here what the language is, because this way it can read it out and you can do listening activities and dictation activities as well. You can also transform the text to speech, but I think I need to come back to this another time. So down here, we've now got verify content. So you can click verify now, and it will then tell me if I've filled in everything correctly. So you need to have at least 20 different sentences. So if you don't have enough in your sentence builder, it won't allow you to save, but I've got enough here. And I've added a text to speech and so on. It will also alert you if you have forgotten to add translations and so on. So that's quite useful. And then I can see all the possible sentences, which is a lot, as you can see, 440 different sentences. You could just copy a few random ones there to make exercises out of them. Then down here, I can fill in all my different things, like who I want to share it with and so on. I would say really make sure that you've got the right path. So think beforehand really carefully what your paths are going to be, because unfortunately it's not necessarily going to show which path you've already done. So decide in the beginning if you want to name it by textbook or by year group, so that it makes it easier to find later on. And I'll show you what I mean, that if I go to resources and German, I need to go down here into my resources. And now these are the path I've created earlier. So Gesetz 3 and then echt 1 for the textbook. So it is quite important. This is how you create your folders, by saving them under that name.